The day Earth's sky turned silver wasn't meant to be remarkable. Dr. Sarah Chen had been reviewing quantum frequency patterns in her laboratory at the Global Physics Institute when the first reports came in. Massive objects, each the size of a small moon, had appeared in synchronous orbit around Earth. Their surfaces rippled like liquid mercury, defying radar and thermal imaging attempts to map their structure. Within hours, every screen on Earth displayed the same message: "We come as friends." The vessels belonged to the Arcadian Empire, a civilization that claimed to have watched humanity for centuries. Their ambassador, High Commander Zalen, appeared as a towering figure with iridescent skin and eyes that seemed to hold galaxies within them. "Your species stands on the brink of a great awakening," Zalen announced to the United Earth Council. "We have chosen this moment to guide humanity into a greater universe." His words were smooth, calculated, and delivered with a smile that never quite reached those cosmic eyes. Dr. Chen didn't trust them from the start. Something about their energy signatures seemed wrong. They fluctuated in patterns that contradicted known physics, but humanity's leaders, dazzled by promises of advanced technology and interstellar travel, welcomed the Arcadians with open arms. The first signs of trouble came subtly. The Arcadians established cultural exchange centers in major cities. People who attended their educational programs returned changed. They spoke of the aliens' benevolence with vacant eyes and monotone voices. Dr. Chen noticed these individuals exhibited unusual brainwave patterns, but her requests to investigate were repeatedly denied by the newly established Earth-Arcadian Coalition. James Cooper, her former student and now a liaison officer with the coalition, brought her the first hard evidence. "They're lying about everything," he whispered in her lab late one night, hands shaking as he transferred data to her secure system. "The centers aren't for cultural exchange. They're processing facilities. They're harvesting something from human brains." The data confirmed her worst fears. The Arcadians weren't benevolent guides. They were farmers, and humanity was their crop. Human brains produced a unique quantum field that the Arcadians required to maintain their physical form. Without regular harvesting from compatible species, they would lose molecular cohesion. "We need to tell everyone," James insisted, but Dr. Chen knew better. The Arcadians controlled all major communication networks now. More importantly, they had positioned their ships above every major city, each capable of maintaining peace through devastating force. Instead, she began reaching out to trusted colleagues. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a specialist in electromagnetic biology. Dr. Marcus Williams, an expert in quantum field theory. Together, they formed the core of what would become humanity's best hope for survival. Working in secret, they discovered something extraordinary. The same quantum field the Arcadians harvested had other properties the aliens either didn't know about or had dismissed. Under specific conditions, human brainwaves could generate interference patterns that disrupted Arcadian technology. "It's like we're naturally tuned to their technological frequency," Dr. Tanaka explained during one of their hidden meetings. "We just need to amplify the signal." Their first breakthrough came when they successfully disabled a small Arcadian scanning device. The second came when they realized the effect was stronger when multiple humans worked in concert. But their most important discovery was still to come. As Earth's first year under Arcadian guidance drew to a close, resistance cells had formed in every major city. The Arcadians remained unaware, confident in their technological superiority. They didn't realize that in their arrogance, they had overlooked humanity's greatest strength. Not our technology or our resources, but our ability to adapt, to innovate, and most importantly, to work together. Dr. Chen looked out her laboratory window at the silver ships hovering above the city. Soon, very soon, the Arcadians would learn that they had made a terrible mistake. Humanity wasn't just another harvest world to be added to their empire. We were about to become their worst nightmare. Deep beneath the streets of New Delhi, in an abandoned metro tunnel converted into a makeshift laboratory, Dr. Tanaka made the discovery that would change everything. She had been studying the brainwave patterns of resistance members when she noticed something unprecedented. Their neural frequencies were synchronizing, creating cascading harmonic patterns that grew stronger with each passing moment. "It's not just interference," she told Dr. Chen over their encrypted communication channel. "Our brains are actually learning to generate stronger fields naturally. It's like our bodies are evolving to fight back." The resistance had grown from a handful of scientists to a global network of cells, each operating independently but sharing crucial data through a system of quantum-encrypted channels, technology reversed engineered from stolen Arcadian devices. They called themselves the Harmony Network, a name that would soon prove prophetic. Lieutenant Maya Patel, formerly of the Indian Special Forces, led a team monitoring the Arcadian processing facility in Mumbai. Her people had documented increasing numbers of selections, civilians chosen for processing. The Arcadians were getting desperate, taking more humans than their supposed quotas allowed. Something had changed in their behavior, but no one knew what. "They're afraid," theorized Dr. Williams during a secure video conference with resistance leaders. "Our latest data suggests their molecular cohesion is degrading faster than their harvesting can compensate for. They need more of whatever they're taking from us." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A young resistance member, former music teacher Emma Santos, noticed that the synchronization effect Dr. Tanaka had discovered became stronger when people sang together. The resistance quickly established choirs, disguised as community groups, in cities worldwide. These weren't just covers for resistance meetings. They were training grounds for what would become humanity's greatest weapon. In Singapore, Dr. Chen received the first prototype of what they called a resonance amplifier, a device that could enhance and focus the natural quantum fields generated by human brains. Initial tests were promising but limited. The device could disrupt Arcadian technology within a small radius, but not enough to pose a real threat. Then came the incident in Buenos Aires. During a covert resistance meeting disguised as a choir practice, an Arcadian patrol unexpectedly entered the building. As fears spread through the group, something extraordinary happened. Their combined emotional response, amplified by their synchronized singing, created a quantum surge that completely disabled the Arcadians' equipment. For precious minutes, the supposedly invincible conquerors were powerless. The patrol retreated, attributing the equipment failure to technical malfunction. But the resistance had witnessed something revolutionary. Proof that humans, working in harmony, could generate fields powerful enough to neutralize Arcadian technology. More importantly, they had discovered that strong emotions dramatically amplified the effect. Dr. Chen and her team worked tirelessly to understand and replicate the Buenos Aires incident. They needed to find a way to harness this power on a massive scale. As their research progressed, they began to understand that the Arcadians hadn't chosen Earth by accident. They hadn't discovered humans by chance. They had been drawn here, attracted by the very thing they sought to harvest: humanity's unique quantum signature. As the resistance prepared for its next phase, Dr. Chen couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The Arcadians had come to Earth seeing humans as nothing more than a resource to be harvested. Instead, they had awakened something that had lain dormant within humanity for millennia, a power that would soon teach them the true meaning of fear. Project Resonance began in an abandoned nuclear shelter beneath the Australian outback. The facility, forgotten since the Cold War, became the Resistance's primary research center. Dr. Chen had chosen it for its natural shielding. Kilometers of rock that helped mask their quantum experiments from Arcadian sensors. The Buenos Aires incident had proven what was possible, but replicating it proved challenging. Dr. Williams and his team worked around the clock, studying the complex interplay between human emotion, synchronized brain patterns, and the quantum fields that seemed to disrupt Arcadian technology. Every human brain produces its own unique frequency, Dr. Williams explained to the gathered resistance leaders. But when people work together, these frequencies can synchronize, creating something far more powerful than the sum of its parts. The Arcadians harvest these fields individually, never understanding their true potential. The first breakthrough came when Emma Santos collaborated with Dr. Tanaka to develop what they called resonance chambers, specially designed rooms where acoustic properties enhanced the synchronization effect. Inside these chambers, even small groups could generate fields strong enough to disable Arcadian technology within a 100-meter radius. But the real game changer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Chen's team had been studying the captured Arcadian communication device when they made a startling discovery. The device didn't just transmit messages, it used quantum entanglement to maintain the Arcadians' molecular cohesion across vast distances. They're not just harvesting our quantum fields for energy, Dr. Chen realized. They're using them to maintain their physical form. Without these fields, they literally can't hold themselves together. The implications were staggering. If the resistance could disrupt this quantum network on a large enough scale, they might not just disable Arcadian technology. They could destabilize the Arcadians themselves. Lieutenant Patel's teams began testing this theory in carefully planned operations. Small resistance groups, using prototype resonance amplifiers, targeted isolated Arcadian patrols. The results exceeded their wildest expectations. When cut off from their quantum network, Arcadian soldiers didn't just lose their technological advantages. Their physical forms began to waver and distort. But these successes came with a price. The Arcadians, realizing something was interfering with their network, increased their security measures. More humans were taken for processing as they desperately tried to strengthen their quantum field. The resistance was in a race against time. In secured facilities around the world, Project Resonance entered its final phase. Dr. Chen and her team had designed a global network of quantum resonators, devices that could amplify and direct the combined neural frequencies of thousands of humans simultaneously. But they needed more than just technology. They needed people willing to risk everything. The resistance began recruiting musicians, choir directors, and meditation teachers, anyone who understood how to help people achieve mental and emotional synchronization. Training centers were established in deep underground facilities, where people learned to focus and direct their quantum fields. Emma Santos emerged as a natural leader in this effort. Her background in music education proved invaluable as she developed techniques to help people tap into their innate abilities. "It's like learning to sing in harmony," she explained to new recruits. "Each voice is unique, but together we create something greater." The Arcadians remained oblivious to the true nature of the Resistance's activities. Their arrogance had led them to dismiss human civilization as primitive, incapable of understanding, let alone manipulating, quantum fields. They didn't realize that every human they processed, every bit of neural energy they harvested, only helped the Resistance better understand their own capabilities. As Project Resonance neared completion, Dr. Chen couldn't help but reflect on the irony of their situation. The Arcadians had come to Earth seeking to harvest humanity's quantum energy. Instead, they had forced humanity to discover its true potential. In trying to exploit what they saw as our weakness, they had helped us unlock our greatest strength. The final pieces of the global resonator network were put in place in secret. Resistance cells worldwide prepared for coordinated action. In her underground laboratory, Dr. Chen ran the final simulations. According to their calculations, if enough humans could synchronize their quantum fields simultaneously, the combined effect would be devastating to Arcadian forces. "We're ready," she told the Resistance Council during their last secure meeting. "But there's no going back once we begin. If we fail, the Arcadians will realize what we're capable of. They'll never stop hunting us." The council members looked at each other, then at the data displaying the increasing numbers of humans being taken for processing. They all knew it was now or never. Humanity had to take its stand. "Send the signal," Lieutenant Patel said firmly. "It's time to show these harvesters exactly what humanity can do when we work together." The day of humanity's counterattack began like any other under Arcadian rule. Their silver ships hung in the sky like artificial moons. Their processing centers continued their grim work, and their patrols moved through city streets with practiced arrogance. But beneath this facade of alien dominance, humanity was about to reveal its greatest deception. Dr. Chen stood in the Australian Command Center, surrounded by screens showing resistance cells worldwide. Years of preparation had led to this moment. The Arcadians believed they were harvesting humanity's power. They never imagined we were letting them do it, gathering intelligence, understanding their weaknesses, and preparing our response. All cells report ready. Lieutenant Patel's voice came through the secure channel from her position in Mumbai. Similar confirmations arrived from other major cities: London, New York, Beijing, Moscow, Rio de Janeiro. Each location had its resonator network in place, disguised as ordinary infrastructure or hidden in underground facilities. The first phase began at dawn in each time zone. Resistance members posing as processed humans reported for their daily duties in Arcadian facilities. Others gathered in seemingly innocent groups: choirs, meditation circles, and community meetings. The Arcadians had grown so confident in their control that they barely noticed these gatherings anymore. Emma Santos led one such group in Madrid's Central Park, ostensibly conducting a morning yoga session. Similar scenes played out in parks and community centers worldwide. To any watching Arcadians, it looked like another day of docile humans going about their permitted activities. At precisely the coordinated moment, Dr. Chen gave the signal: initiate Phase 1. The response was immediate but subtle. Around the globe, humans began generating synchronized quantum fields, but at levels just below what would trigger Arcadian alerts. It was like an orchestra quietly tuning its instruments before a performance. In their ships and facilities, the Arcadians noticed only a slight increase in ambient quantum energy, nothing that seemed threatening. Some even saw it as a good sign, evidence that their harvesting was becoming more efficient. Phase 2, Dr. Chen commanded after 30 minutes. The human quantum field grew stronger. In every city, resistance members began channeling their energy through the hidden resonator network. The Arcadians' first warning came when their quantum communication network began experiencing unexplained fluctuations. High Commander Zalen, aboard his flagship over New York, demanded explanations from his technical staff. But before they could determine the cause, Phase 3 began. All at once, every human participant in the resistance network focused their quantum output to maximum levels. The effect was devastating. Arcadian communication systems crashed worldwide. Their weapon systems went offline. Most critically, their molecular cohesion fields began to fail. In Madrid, Emma Santos watched as the Arcadian patrol near her group began to lose physical form, their bodies becoming transparent and unstable. Similar scenes played out worldwide as humanity's combined quantum field disrupted the very technology that kept the Arcadian forces intact. But the Arcadians had one last card to play. Their ships began powering up massive energy weapons, systems that operated independently of their quantum network. If they couldn't maintain control, they would reduce Earth's cities to ash. Dr. Chen had anticipated this. Execute final phase, she ordered. In every city, resistance members who had infiltrated Arcadian facilities activated hidden devices, quantum field inverters that Dr. Williams had developed. These devices didn't just disrupt the Arcadian quantum network. They reversed its flow. Suddenly, instead of harvesting human quantum energy, their systems began to leak their own stored energy. The effect was catastrophic for the Arcadian forces. Their ships, their weapons, even their physical forms began to destabilize. The Great Deception was complete. Humanity hadn't just been learning to resist their harvesting. We had been learning to turn their own energy against them. High Commander Zalen's last transmission was filled with disbelief. Impossible. You were nothing but cattle. How could you? His ship, along with every other Arcadian vessel in Earth's orbit, began to dissolve into quantum particles. On the ground, their forces faced the same fate. The processing centers, those monuments to alien domination, crumbled as their quantum-based architecture failed. In the Australian Command Center, Dr. Chen watched the feeds from around the world. Humanity's greatest gambit had paid off. We had let the Arcadians think they were farming us, while all along we were learning, adapting, and preparing to take back our world. The war wasn't over. There would be more Arcadian ships, more attempts to harvest humanity. But now they would face an enemy they had never truly understood, one whose power lay not in technology, but in our ability to work together, to synchronize our strengths, and to turn apparent weakness into unprecedented power. 3 months after humanity's victory over the Arcadian invasion force, Earth had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The remains of Arcadian technology littered cities worldwide, their once mighty ships now nothing more than hollow shells of exotic metals. But the real transformation wasn't physical. It was in humanity itself. Dr. Chen stood at the window of the newly established Global Defense Council headquarters in Geneva, watching teams of scientists examine a derelict Arcadian vessel. The quantum abilities awakened in humans during the resistance hadn't faded after victory. Instead, they had grown stronger, more refined. The latest reports are in from the lunar outpost, Dr. Williams said, joining her at the window. We've detected 3 more Arcadian fleets approaching from different vectors, larger than the first wave. Chen nodded, but didn't share his concern. How are the planetary defense preparations? Better than we could have hoped. The quantum resonator network now covers 90% of Earth's population centers. Emma's training programs have produced over 1 million certified quantum synchronizers. Lieutenant Patel's defense forces have successfully adapted Arcadian technology to work with human quantum fields. The approaching Arcadian fleets weren't coming to negotiate. After their initial defeat, the Empire had gone silent for 2 months before launching attacks on every world they had been harvesting. But Earth wasn't their only surprise. Other species, inspired by humanity's resistance, had begun fighting back using similar techniques. Message from the Centauri listening post. A young operator announced. The Arcadian fleet nearest to their position has begun accelerating. They're on an attack vector. Dr. Chen smiled. The Arcadians still hadn't learned. They still thought this was about technology, about weapons and ships. They didn't understand that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't the resonator network or the adapted alien technology. It was something far more fundamental, our ability to unite in the face of extinction. Around the world, humans gathered in their quantum synchronization groups. What had started as resistance cells had evolved into a global network of consciousness. Every human mind added to the field made it stronger, more resilient. Children were now born with natural quantum abilities, their brains adapted to the new reality their parents had forged in desperation. The first Arcadian fleet arrived exactly as predicted, their ships darkening the skies over Earth's major cities. But this time, there was no fear. In town squares, parks, and purpose-built resonance chambers, humanity responded with a synchronized quantum surge that made their previous victory seem like a mere rehearsal. The Arcadian ships didn't just fail, they unraveled. Their quantum-based technology, their very physical forms, dissolved in the face of humanity's combined power. The second and third fleets, witnessing the fate of the first, attempted to retreat. They didn't get far. We're receiving transmissions, the communications officer reported. Multiple species, multiple regions of space. They're asking for help, asking us to teach them what we know. And that was how humanity took its place among the stars, not as conquerors or victims, but as teachers. The Arcadian Empire's greatest mistake hadn't been attacking Earth. It had been showing us what we were truly capable of. Within a year, Earth had established diplomatic relations with 12 alien species, all former victims of Arcadian harvesting. The Global Defense Council evolved into the Interstellar Cooperation Initiative, with Dr. Chen as its first director. Research teams led by Dr. Williams and Dr. Tanaka worked with alien scientists to understand and develop new applications for quantum field manipulation. Emma Santos established the first Interspecies Harmony Academy, teaching other races how to awaken and control their own quantum abilities. Lieutenant Patel headed the New Earth Defense Force, working with former resistance members to protect not just Earth, but all species seeking freedom from oppression. The Arcadian Empire, that ancient powerhouse that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia, found itself facing an unprecedented situation. Their former harvest worlds were now unified, protected by human-developed quantum field technology, and trained in humanity's methods of resistance. On the 5th anniversary of the first Arcadian defeat, Dr. Chen addressed the Interstellar Cooperation Council. Representatives from 27 species filled the chamber, each with their own story of liberation and awakening. The Arcadians came to Earth believing they had found another world of victims. She told the assembled delegates. Instead, they became the catalyst for the greatest advancement in our species' history. They thought they were harvesting our power, but they were actually helping us discover it. They saw us as weak because we were different, because our strength didn't lie in technology or conquest, but in our ability to unite, to adapt, and to grow stronger through cooperation. She paused, looking out at the faces of so many different species, all united in purpose. Today, we stand as proof that true power doesn't come from dominating others, but from helping them rise. The Arcadians wanted to harvest the galaxy's resources. Instead, they helped create something far more powerful, a community of worlds working together, protecting each other, and growing stronger through unity. As she finished speaking, the quantum field generated by the assembled delegates pulsed with shared purpose and hope. In orbit above Earth, the transformed remains of Arcadian ships served as monuments to a simple truth: never underestimate a species that finds its greatest strength in standing together.